Whenever you're ready.
All right, let me make sure it is live streaming on YouTube. Let's see, the video is. Check the camera controls. Yes. There we go.
Welcome.
Let's cut you out of it. No, wait, I have to go back further.
I can't suck.
No,
I
you
can't
can't go
suck it
public
in.
meeting.
I
You're
can't-
on the record now, my friend.
I can't suck it in.
All right, we are good to go from my standpoint.
Okay, we are going to call this meeting of Water and Sewer. We are here to discuss water billing adjustments. The start time will be 3:01. And just for everybody's information, Grant Russell is on the Water and Sewer Committee also, but he is unavailable to be here today. He's riding a bicycle somewhere in Iowa. He's on vacation.
Enjoy life.
Yes, he's enjoying life. Okay, as I stated, we are here to talk about some adjustments on some of the water bills, some of the high water bills that we have had. And the mayor had presented to council a document kind of outlining what kind of plans the administration had to address some of those bills. So I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Murn and let her go ahead and discuss this.
Perfect. So just a couple of housekeeping items, because I know I see some new faces. This is a committee meeting, so that means the committee is the one discussing it, and then if you would like to comment, it would be at their discretion to discuss. I think we'll probably have some comment period if folks have questions, but just so you know, you can't interject in the meeting. All right, I think we'll be good. As we look at the data, first of all, obviously kind of just giving the background, I know it's a frustrating situation. Unfortunately, with the delay of the project back in 2020, we had known even back in 2016, many of the 2G systems that cellular providers had in network that our systems were running off were starting to phase out. They were not being able to repair them anymore as everybody's moving to 4G and 5G and all the Gs that we now run off of. Those systems were going away. So we knew that our transmitter system was then going to fail and we needed to replace it. They were no longer going to be compatible. So we began looking at, evaluating, and trying to get them replaced. The project was delayed, and therefore we didn't start being able to really move forward with the project in 2020. Our goal at that point in time was to, over a 5-year period, replace all of the transmitters. We had worked with our local 2G networks to get them to keep it up for as long as possible, but they had told us that once it breaks, we can't fix it anymore. We cannot patch it anymore. We looked at doing a temporary patch through our IT guys. It just wasn't going to work. So we ordered and began installing the transmitters. We have about 20,000 in our system. And unfortunately, as we knew was going to happen at some point, but sooner than we really wanted, in December of 2021, the transmitter, that 2G network failed. And therefore, we no longer had that constant information coming in from the transmitters. Now that did a couple of things. Mainly, folks and I myself, we become reliant on that to tell us if there is a leak in our system or a toilet running, which can be very costly. We have statistics that show, it's pretty much the equivalent of an Olympic-sized pool if you have a toilet running all year long. So that's a significant amount of water. So we understand this is frustrating, especially if folks suddenly got a high bill. What's happening right now is as those transmitters are getting installed, we're going back and saying, okay, here was your last read. And we did try to go out and read meters, or somebody said, hey, we think something's wrong. We tried to get out, but we couldn't get to 20,000 meters every month, right? So with that, we have taken the last actual reading, lay eyes, saw what your number was. And now that once your transmitter is installed, the actual read. Now the meter, the whole time has been functioning properly. It is calculating and tracking what's been going through your system. So we're not concerned about false reads or anything like that unless there's a catastrophic failure of the meter. It's just we weren't getting the data regularly. So what we are finding now is obviously as folks are getting their bills, there are some that were underestimated. And so now they're having that adjustment where it could be, $20 a month, or bill added up over almost 2 years is a significant amount of money. But we also have some bills that did have a leak either in ground outside where it's going through their meter but never going through their house, or had a running faucet or running toilet that they were utilizing that water through their system being billed for it, but weren't able to capture that and inform them of that until suddenly we have the big change in bill or in the system and we catch that. So what I am recommending at this point, as we've been looking at the data, trying to figure out a way to work with residents to make adjustments. We didn't want to do like a dollar amount threshold because a single mother, bill so let's just say that's $100 a month bill. If we say, okay, anything over $300, well, even $100 difference is a significant difference. So how do we look at it compared to their actual bill? So that's why we ran the numbers both ways, and I'm recommending that based off of 500% difference in their bill, we would then work with those folks to go through and identify what was actual usage. So based off of your normal usage, what do we believe that you actually used? And then looking at what that gap is, if there was a leak. If it's an in-ground leak, we already have a process in our water rules. If you can show that it was an in-ground leak and that it's been repaired, we can waive up to 50% of that amount. So we would just do that same standard process for that. If we identify that it was a running system, again, it went through their system, we would like to apply that same process for accounts that were over a 500% change. So I feel like what that does is if it was just simply a leak and they weren't actually utilizing the water, we'll use our standard process regardless of the percentage, right? So if you're at 300% and you can identify that it was the leak that's now been fixed, we would follow our standard process. If it's different and it was just going through, we would use that 500% threshold. So I ran the numbers looking at our cycle 1 and cycle 2 bills. So all of those that were actually sent out. And we have some bills. One of the largest ones on here was about $9,000. It was a 6,000% change because their normal bill's about 130. Now I have a couple of bills that on here were 82 cents, their previous bill. So they show up as actually this one's 19,000% change, but it was only a 16-cent bill the last time. So it's $31. So I think that's probably actual usage. They probably were gone for a month or something. But we would work with those accounts to identify them and either call them or notify them, and then work to identify what the problem was and make the adjustments. I know we have a number of folks that have called in. We've already been able to work with them. Some of the large, entity biller individuals who have had a large bill, we've tried to work with them to identify a process. So it's obviously not going to be perfect for every single situation, but one of the important things is that we kind of have a fair method so that, a business isn't getting that larger benefit over a resident. Thoughts?
Only to committee or to everybody?
So right now it's just for the committee. Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah. So let's see what the questions that maybe they'll answer yours and then we can.
How do we propose to handle somebody who has like a $10,000 bill or $14,000 bill? I know we have 3, 6, and 12-month option to pay that. You got a $14,000 bill, but they might get roughly half of that knocked off if they can prove they had a leak. So then you're down to roughly $7,000.
Yeah. So
would we say, hey, maybe 18 months?
Yeah, I think we're pretty flexible on the payment plans. Our typical process, I think that, Ginger, I'm looking to you. I don't think that the payment plan is really a big issue as long as they're staying on top of it. We have some folks that pay every month, some towards it. I went back and forth on if it should be at the discretion. I'm sorry, Ginger, what are you
Is it
saying?
in the rules and regulations, water rules and regulations of how to handle the payment plan process? That's the thing I've asked a question on, I haven't had an answer for yet.
Okay, I don't recall specifically, but that's definitely something that if it is not standard documented, we can do that. And I know from our standpoint, we also, have a process to document, hey, this is the scenario. Here's how much was actual usage. Here's how much we believe was a leak. Here's how much is being written off. But I think we definitely, I guess it's up to the committee. If you guys want to say we would allow payment plans up to 24 months, I don't think that's necessarily a problem. The big thing is as long as people are making some payment. And we could even say if you guys want to, go up to 75% of the amount, we can do that as well. 50% just was kind of a starting point for the discussion based off of, again, the leak method. Oh, yeah, council members, yeah.
Go ahead.
So if somebody had a 5,000, this might go to you, but a $5,000 bill, how much water is that, like gallons?
Oh,
Or, that was a curiosity question I guess I had.
well,
Kind of depends on the size of the meter
You're
or the line, right? Because your standard residential properties are 3/8 or 5/8 lines, but some are a duplex or some a larger commercial business might have a 2-inch line and they pay a different rate. But you said $5,000 water bill, that's probably 100, probably 100 units.
Okay, my other question, if that's not readily available, I was just curious, because you'd think maybe, we had a water leak, not a leak, but a water pipe burst in our neighborhood, water's just like literally like little geysers coming out of the ground. I think maybe if you had so much excess water, maybe somebody should have known where it was going. My other question is, how much is this gonna cost to
Yeah.
write this off? Do we have a somewhat total on that?
Yeah, so you might have seen in the newspaper, they reached out yesterday and I sent it to Randy as well. Right now, like the total variance between just actual bill and the new most recent bill for the accounts that are over 500% difference is $123,000. Obviously, not all of that necessarily would be written off.
Keeping in mind also that 123,000 is water and sewer. So it's not just all water. Because the sewer is billed on the water usage.
yes, but the actual dollar.
You're correct. Yeah,
Okay, so in the document that you gave to us, you had said that up to 7 or anything up to 75% would be for the 500% over. Is that correct?
correct. Yep, so I think doing that up to 75%, so you mind if I use you as an example? Okay, so Josh has called us, received a $15,000 water bill for a single family rental unit. They unfortunately had, it appears to be a running toilet. So it isn't just an in-ground leak where we would do 50%. In this situation though, he would qualify for the up to 75%. So we would back out the actual usage that we would estimate across that. And then we would look at that other portion and say, okay, yep, you qualify for 75% of it to be waived. And the reason I would give discretion is mainly because if we had gone to them at some point and said, hey, we think you have a running, because we were going out and checking periodically. So if we can show that on their last bill, we notified them, hey, we think you have a leak or a running faucet and they didn't fix it, I'm probably gonna be like, okay, now you owe 50% or 25% because there was a difference here.
And keeping in mind also the 123,000 that you mentioned, that is just basically the south end that has been read, correct?
Correct.
So we have another read of the north end coming yet. So there's a possibility that that number could actually double.
Yeah, so in September, we'll have that kind of last portion of transmitters that will come online and we'll do a
But the
reconciliation.
transmitters are in on the north side.
Yes, everything is in the ground, it's just now hitting the back office.
And for, some of the accounts where they, were just underestimated for whatever reason and say there's $100 difference, but there's a financial hardship, we have been, as we always do, again, working with them to set up a payment plan if they want to pay it over time or directing them to some of the nonprofits in town that can help with bill assistance.
If it's not in the rules and regs, the sewer rules and regs for this. I think that's something that we need to make sure is added into there in the next review, which is going to be
Well,
up and coming.
okay, so I guess the in-ground leak is.
It is
in red.
in the rules, right.
I guess, one of the reasons we're coming to the committee is so that we have a documented process. However, because we are going to have the continuous read system up and running, I see this as a temporary process. I don't necessarily think that this is a
As
permanent
one-time
solution.
only.
Right,
Yeah.
because going forward, again, we have the system to be able to detect, it's just not operational right now. And so if we detect, typically within a day or two, we're
Right.
contacting folks and able to get it resolved.
And right now, the payment plans only go for 12 months, is that
I know I
correct?
think I read 3, 6, and 12 months,
Mhm.
but
Three, 6.
I think we need something and permanent there as well, or say, hey, 3, 6.
Yeah, the payment plan process, we can
Is-
definitely get
yeah.
documented because that's an ongoing. We always offer that.
And I think a lot of it is too getting out to the citizens that there is a payment plan to work through. That we're not gonna shut anybody's water off. I mean, we want people to be able to pay their bills and still be able to feed their families and stuff also.
Right.
So, yeah, but I think a lot of people maybe don't know that there is payment plans out there. So,
Councilman or Chairman, I don't know
Yes,
if you
I'm
would
sorry.
allow when I made a comment, the lady kind of reacted. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to hear
No,
what her
that's
statement was.
absolutely.
Allowed.
I'll just speak.
Is there a timeline, like the bill, the giant bill I'm looking at it, $2,800, it's due on August 14. No penalty will apply.
Correct, we are not
Is there a
charging.
timeline until what date? Until what date penalty and such things will not apply? Is
So,
there a timeline, some sort?
yeah, so currently no penalties are being incurred by individuals.
And no water shut off?
And no water shut off. Really, we need direction from this committee on what the plan is. As soon as we have, confirmation from them that they're okay with us moving forward with this process, what we'll do is identify any of the accounts. Really, all you need to do is call in and then have the conversation with us so we can figure out why your bill is so high. And then we won't charge you until we have resolution on what is the balance on your account that has to be resolved.
And what's timeline for that?
Hopefully I will get, their direction today. We'll kind of start getting a game plan, and then Tuesday we'll get their official approval when they adopt the committee report. And then that gives us the paper kind of audit support for us to be able to then move forward with this. So probably late next week, you would get calls from us.
From the water department?
Yes, utility billing.
And last question.
Yeah.
Like, I understand this new meter system for whole intended to make life easier for water department and sewer department and us residents, correct?
Correct, and it's really the same system that we previously had, just a new
Yeah.
version of it.
That's perfect. However, when in water department was serious, like they showed me, I was there on Monday, the 24th, like this Monday, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I myself went physically in water department thinking, I was clearly struck with that bill. I went there myself, nobody from water department, city of Findlay, I did not receive any phone calls, any mail. It was 80, right, Jeff? It was 86 gallons, whatever using. I was not notified. So what's the point of the system? I was not notified in any form about excessive usage of water. And I end up with this bill. And I'm
Exactly.
in the same with Josh's situation with rental.
Exactly, that's the whole
I
reason
was
we're
not
changing the
notified, so
system,
water
because we
department-
didn't know either.
Well, somebody in water department probably can see, my God, 86 gallons, that's very excessive usage. Why didn't they notify me? And they do have my number, very correct one, for years on that system. And the new meters, the new digital ones were already there for over a week or somewhat time. I was not notified, period. So,
So I double checked,
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
so I verified on your account and looked into it a little bit more today because I wanted to understand why, where where you were in the system, when your transmitter got installed, and how everything, how it all shook out that you actually got that high a bill and didn't get a phone call. And so there was a very brief period of time with a very small outlying number that got changed, and then we went down for billing. And so there was a breakdown in our system, and that's why you didn't get the phone call prior to the bill going out.
It's
And
not right.
I'm sorry that you didn't get the phone call, but at that juncture, the rest of the team was working on trying to get the rest of the transmitters in the ground to try to get the project complete. So we could get the back office, and there was a few that fell through the cracks and didn't get personal phone calls before the bills went out.
So, sorry, this one gonna be my last one. So August 14th is my due. I'm coming August 10th and will be after committee, after discussions, after whatever decision made. I can come in water department and Jeff, you're gonna tell me how much I owe, how much goes all the way, please, right?
That
Is that correct? That's all. I'm like here on behalf of few people, so they want the answer on that.
Yeah, so what
Like,
we'll be doing,
whatever decision is, however it goes, whatever percent payment plan and such, it's gonna be by, say, August 14th, gonna be all done. Right?
that would be our goal.
Okay,
The thing is, once we identify all of these, we have to have one-on-one conversations with you to determine what was the problem, right? So do we, and I don't know, because you've been working with the team as you should, these are the experts on this. I might have 2 or 3 people call me and say, I have a $3,000 water bill and I'm not gonna pay this, and we can say, pull it up and say, okay, well, you have a $3,000 water bill, but you typically have a $2,000 water bill. So let's understand why there's that variance, okay? And $500 of it you did use because you had family visiting, right? So we have to go through.
reasonable.
Yeah, and so
Not
we-
asking,
but
not
all I'm
asking,
saying-
forgive us all. Yes, we use water, we owe money, absolutely, I'm in agreement with that, 100%.
All I'm trying to say is that when you call in, we're not gonna be able to say, here's your dollar amount you owe right now. We're gonna have to have a conversation to figure out what is your situation, and so that, so you can communicate to other people. It's not gonna just be, hey, you call and we tell you, yep, you owe $20. It's gonna be, hey, okay, yep, you have a leak. We need to have a plumber go fix it. Now you need to give us the letter that a plumber has fixed it, and now here we can work with you to adjust that all. But yes, our goal, and you won't be charged until we resolve that. So even if it's not resolved by August 14th, we then won't charge you if we've marked you as one that we need to work on.
That's all.
Yeah.
From me, so far.
But if that bill's
Whatever
already
is
been
my
paid.
tax.
Hold on,
Yep,
Rick's speaking.
What if that bill's already been paid?
yep, so that's why we need the standard process. Well, I actually have run the numbers based off of the accounts. You guys can't see my list, but I actually have the individual account numbers. So we'll literally take this list, and even if you've already paid, we'll go back and adjust so that it's fair to across the board.
Do you think this probably could have been avoided in most cases? Had you sent something out prior that you were guesstimating how much water would use? Because we can say estimate, but I don't know how you estimated it. It was a pure guesstimation
So
of how much water. And for the transmitters to be put in the wrong place and reading someone else's water,
So if it's reading somebody else's water, that's a whole different issue we'll need to address. I haven't heard of that occurring related.
speak with Mr. Fenimore.
Okay, Okay.
To my knowledge, that there were each time that there was any type of an issue in regards to the transfers, they were it was gone out and remedied as quickly as possible. And to my knowledge, he did misspeak a couple times in his explanation of that, but to my knowledge, nobody ever got billed for somebody else's water.
so again, if there's an individual situation, we'll have to work through it. 2, the bills, there was communication both in the newspaper multiple times, on social media, on the water bills, and then we did separate slips about this process and the fact that bills were being estimated. There's always room for improvement. Should we have done more, yes, we can always hindsight, should have probably communicated even more, doing more of the bright colored slips, because people don't read the back of their, water bills. We've discovered that. However, I would say, the estimation process was looking at the prior 6 bills worth of data for your individual property. So they really were kind of the best method for us to say, some of the issues people have experienced is if somebody new moved in with them, or if they moved properties and had old data. The largest issue we're seeing is unfortunately leaks, and running faucets or running toilets has been the largest issue. And yep, really the best solution would have been having a system that was able to detect it, but unfortunately that wasn't the case, not the case. And so now we're aware of the extent of the issue, and now we're trying to figure it out.
I have a question.
Yes,
So is the transmission, the new transmissions, material, and so forth, that's already set up on the east side of town too?
Yep, all of the transmitters are in the ground at this point in time. They're just being programmed to communicate with our system.
Okay, I've talked twice with the water company.
Okay.
And do I need to call them back again to discuss the details of issues that I've had with the water?
You certainly can. Yeah, they're going to be the best person to be able to address it.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out who is going to determine all this.
Yeah, so we as the leadership will work with our billing department to do this. Council's also the ultimate kind of, yes, this is the method we want you to use. And then we will contact the properties that are identified as over 500%, whether they've already been billed, whether they've already paid, or, moving forward, we'll be able to catch some of those on the front end, and then we'll work to remedy it.
So if I've already talked to them, will you automatically then call me about the details?
If you are over 500%, yes. And if you think if you're under that 500%, but your bill appears to be high, again, if it was an in-ground leak, then we can work with you.
We've got a little, thank you for payment plan that, I think you kind of like, and I kind of like also. I'll let the mayor take a look at it, please. It would extend it out to 24 months for anybody over $1,000.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
we're looking at approximately $42 a month or something, so we're looking to 20 days.
Yeah, I'm fine. From my perspective, I'm fine having the 24 months for any level. Because again, $200 a month, an amount due $200 being spread out over 6 months, still may be a burden to someone. The same level of burden as $1,000 a month. Right, so I would rather just say that
Up to 24
citizens,
months.
yeah, we have the option up to 24 months.
Mayor, don't we run into a problem though if we make it based on each individual situation, we may not end up treating everybody equally? Do we run into an issue with that?
I think everybody has the same options, which is the part that I would equate to quality.
Same options.
Yes, they all have the option of up to 24 months. Now, the issue that could pose for us is obviously cash flow changes. Everybody's gonna be like, well, I'm just always gonna pay
Yeah.
over 24
I
months.
see what
But I would distinguish that the payment plan is for the
This is for,
variance,
right, this is
not
for
just for
this
your standard
figured
payment.
time.
So I think that would just need to be
This is to help
clarified.
people get through this
Get through this
issue,
issue here now.
not take your
Not somebody
normal
who's
water bill.
skipping water bills.
Skip it to 24
Right, because
24 months.
yeah, because the way the staff currently, each one of the payment plans are handled individually, and pulled out of the billing system and handled, so that way there's no penalties.
But they all have the same options of
Right.
up to 12 months.
So for this situation, for the transmitter issue that we had, up to 24 months payment plan for everyone that falls in that category. I think that's reasonable. This wouldn't apply to anybody that's past due on their normal bill. If it's not related to this, I think that's reasonable. I think that should be a part of our recommendation to council. I think the other question is, do we want to write off 50% or 75%.
Yeah.
Is this,
The,
is this still just for 500% and over?
So 500% over for the accounts that are not just an in-ground water leak. That would still be follow under the normal guide. So even if it's a 300% change, but they can show that it was from an in-ground water leak that was not detected, then that would be forgiven up to 50% of that amount. The 75% or 50% forgiveness would be for accounts where there was a running system that was not
Over
detected.
500%.
over
which
500%.
would have been detected if we had an
Correct.
operational system.
Correct.
So I think the only question is, do we go 50,
So
stay
that's
with?
re- so that's really two different circumstances.
Yeah, that
Correct.
sounds that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
So we're saying, up to 24 months for payments
for the
for the transmitter project
Very.
variance,
variance.
Yeah.
Okay. And then also we're okay with the,
So just to clarify, because we had discussed earlier,
Okay.
putting the payment policy in the water and sewer rules permanently. So do you want, how do you want, I guess, what is the recommendation as I work with Ginger and we form those words? How do we want, I understand transmitter reconciliation, but then what do we want the standard protocol
so
to be?
basically after this is taken care of, do you want it to go back to the 12-month or to remain?
what if we said, for this particular issue, we said if we have a system type failure like we had with this, that this would apply then? So that way, if we do have some kind of issue in the future.
Well, this system has a 15-year guarantee.
Right.
So we should not have this, if anything fails over the next 15 years, the company comes.
Right, I understand, yeah, it's under
So-
warranty.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that what if we had something where the computer system got fried or whatever? Where we have an issue, why not have something in place to where something like that happens, we have a system in place, people know what's gonna happen with their water bills.
Yeah, I think we can discuss that a little bit more. I would say for just like standard payment plans moving forward to incorporate into the water rules, I would say maximum 12 months.
Yeah.
I think that can be a
For your
separate
normal-
recommendation.
Yeah.
So that's one recommendation, that this payment plan is
Further
one other.
discuss what you're talking.
Okay.
Yeah. We should, yeah, but we can figure that out.
So then I'm thinking that you're on board with 75% over the 5,000 or 500%.
Yes.
Normally, we go in normal.
Normally, they would have notified people when they could get
Right.
it fixed.
And if it's an in-ground leak, it's the 50%.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
How do you address that with the public pulling money, if we're doing a write-off, the people that paid their water bills, why should we be using those funds and doing a write-off? Because how is that gonna affect in the future
So,
and operating the water?
so are you talking about the folks that have already paid their bill but would have qualified?
I'm saying so you're gonna do a write-off or you're gonna do a forgiveness under the water billing department side, right?
Correct.
So with that write-off, those dollars that have been coming in, that citizens that pay their water bill are gonna be the ones that are taking, I'll say, the hit for this adjustment.
How are they taking it?
Well, because
Isn't it money that's not even supposed to be there? I mean, in the big scheme of things, if this thing was working the way it was supposed to, if council would have approved the funds back when they were supposed to do it, we wouldn't have this problem. The house I'm sitting here for, and I bought it in like 16. On 17, I get a call from the water department that I got an excessive use. This same house. So they called me. I went over there. I fixed it. If we had a system that was operating correctly, we wouldn't be sitting here. I got a $15,000 water bill because council then didn't do what they should have done. And the system failed.
I don't know that I would say council didn't do their job, but the system, so there's two things. You with a large bill, I agree. Should you have ever had a large bill? Heck no, you shouldn't have. But the citizens that are paying their bills normally, and that money is going into those funds, are what's taking care of this screw up.
So Councilwoman Frischie, I know you missed a large portion of the discussion.
That is the first one.
So I would just distinguish that the citizens are still going to be responsible for their normal water usage. So I think everyone's gonna be paying in what they should be paying in. What we're addressing here today is the water that, yes, was utilized out of our system, but wasn't utilized and received a benefit to the citizens in any way. And because our system wasn't working properly, what we're choosing to do is not penalize them because of that, but instead recognize that it was a failure of our system. And though legally it's their responsibility, we understand the frustration and are adjusting for that. I don't think us adjusting and working with citizens is negatively impacting this.
But we're addressing it under the water fund is all I'm saying. Is there another fund that we can address it out? That was what my question
Well, all it's
was.
gonna be is revenue not received. And so I don't think it's yes, it's revenue we're not capturing, but I don't think we're gonna see a significant hit to the revenue that we would have been projecting, because again, they're still paying for what their kind of standard usage would have been.
And then the last thing I didn't catch, you guys talked about meter readings and how you're gonna do that. You're not gonna put a water policy in for reading meters, or we are?
I think maybe it would be best that we have a separate conversation. You can go back and watch the beginning of the meeting because we've talked a lot about this information already. I don't think that we are putting in a safe, fail safe at this point in time. If the entire system were to have a catastrophic failure, how we would address bills at that time related to overages. So that is what the specific comment just was. We should never be in this situation again, right? We shouldn't have a catastrophic failure at this. Hopefully we've all learned our lesson in the importance of the system. But what we're saying is today, we're not going to address how we want to handle future catastrophic failures. We can address that in a separate conversation whenever the committee would like to, but we just don't. I think that needs to
I
be a
just think
separate.
it's a good thing for dotting i's and crossing t's, whether the system goes down or if a citizen questions their bill, we have a manual backup to say.
Which we do that. If somebody calls in and has an issue with their bill,
Once we have an
somebody does.
issue.
A citizen can call and ask their meter to be inspected at any point in time. And that did occur throughout this whole system failure as well.
Is it free service or not?
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's
Even
free.
if like a suspicious, some kind
Yeah.
of suspicious, we have the water department and they can check it out sometime.
Yeah, so if you say,
What do
hey,
you
it looks
do?
like somebody tampered with mine, or, normally what happens is you'll get a phone call from our department saying, hey, you have high usage, because again, we're detecting it. And you'd say, okay, they'll tell you to check your toilet. So I actually had this situation happen.
That happened to me too.
They called, and this was before the system failed, they called, hey, we think you have a running toilet or something. So I went around and I checked all the toilets,
Six,
no running
7,
toilet.
8 years ago, I did have phone calls and it happens, you're right, it happens.
Yeah,
But-
and I had a leak under
but
my
not
house I
like-
didn't
but
know
Not
about.
recently, not with
Well,
ones.
right.
Because the system wasn't operating correctly. If it had been, you would have gotten a call.
Right,
And Monday, Jeff went out
Yes,
with you
yes, yep.
and went to the apartment or
Yep.
went to the area.
It was leaking too at this time.
Yeah,
It was, yes.
so,
yes,
I mean, that, we don't bill you for that service. If there's an issue, we don't have a problem sending staff out to verify and to work with residents.
Well, I don't know all the rules in water department, but before like 2019, if I want some bad rental shut the water off, I got billed like, would you pay for shutting water off?
Well, for calling and having ending service, yes, there's service charges to come out and service and shut water off. I mean, there are different fees for different
Got it.
calls,
Got it.
so, yes.
But if something looks suspicious, like
Right.
the meter's not working properly, you think, this doesn't look like, then there's no charge. for
Correct.
that.
Correct, there's no charge for investigations.
Charlie?
Number one, you've done a good job over the years. Thank you.
Yes, until this.
Right. We own a lot of rentals, spend a lot of money on water, non-alcoholic water. And my wife gets notified from you guys saying, hey, your bill is excessive. And we really appreciate that. You saved us thousands of dollars. So we get in there, we take care of it. So the system that's set up that was working, it quit working, correct?
Correct.
Now, you said earlier, this system you got now is guaranteed for 15 years.
Yes.
Correct, okay. When you put the other system in, how long was it guaranteed for? Just curious.
It was,
Just curious.
the other system basically came with 5-year guarantee and 5 years prorate. The other system the installation process started in 2008 and was completed in 2012. So it took 4 years to get everything into the ground and the system up and running.
No, I would note on this, when we talk about that 15-year guarantee, that's like the warranty.
Right.
So if anything goes wrong, we can replace it. The system, sure as heck better, we're,
Yes.
beyond 15 years. And our,
Yes.
that is definitely the expectation.
My next question is, you have water, you have sewage. Okay, so actually, the sewage has not worked, your water has ran. So, for example, your water bill is $500 and your sewage bill is $500.
No, if you've got a water bill of 500, usually 250 of that roughly is water and 250 is sewer. So,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
So can we take the sewage off because it was just water running through it? Not sewage.
Well, isn't that what has to do when it goes from the meter, when it's ground, that's why we're doing the write-off, because it's not making it.
So that's the question.
Right, that's the underground leak portion. That's why it's in our water and sewer rules. If there's an underground leak.
This is underground, this is toilet run.
And that's, I guess, why
Yeah.
there is the proposal on the table for the committee to consider.
A toilet running bill still runs back to the sewer.
Right.
It still has to be processed. So the same, whether it was a clean gallon going in versus a dirty gallon going to the plant, all costs the same. I see your point, though.
Because
It's still all.
it was it was a shocker to us. This widower guy has got 2 kids. And I like using common sense. That kind of hurts some people. And I said, did you see the water running? No. So if you sat on it, it'd be a bidet. The water is running. And we didn't notice that. We didn't hear it. That's my point.
But it could also be the seal.
It wasn't, it was
I mean, it could be legal.
it was a $15 shut off that malfunctioned. It took me an hour to fix. But you get these excuses that I didn't notice it. Well, you did notice it. And now he's got a bill of $1,700. And I agree with what you're saying. We'll write off some of it, that's fine. But I just want to thank the water department in the past for being on the stick to let us know that we got a water problem, and you have done a great job doing it.
Thank you. We will definitely pass that along because it's been really frustrating for them, right? They like to do their job well and unfortunately they've been put in this tough position and they get a lot of grumpy phone calls and it's hard for them when a lot of the reason we're in this was outside of their control. So we will definitely pass that along, Mr. Lee, because I appreciate it.
I have a
Oh, I'm sorry.
I guess I don't understand this completely, but, so I've been getting my bills every other month, automatic payment. If this was leaking, why was the bill as low as it was?
Because the estimates were based off of your prior usage. So what we
So
did
it's
is
just estimates, they weren't
correct.
really
They were
what I was
saying,
using?
correct,
Why?
because we weren't getting the readings from the system.
They had to put the new transmitters in.
Yeah.
It took 20 months to get that done, so it's been estimates for 20 months.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
now we're catching up on,
correct.
Exactly.
but with auto pay.
Yeah.
Makes a difference.
Yep,
Right.
I get it.
Right out.
Yep, so that's that.
Not-
So again, one.
So it was going along, it looked fine. I didn't know there was a problem, but, and I have been called in the past too, telling me, I think you have a leak, and we fixed it, like everybody else would do. But this doesn't seem right.
Yep, well, that's why we're trying to fix it. So if we'll work with your situation and see what we can do to adjust it. And if it was, the leak, or if it was just your overage and now we gotta adjust it over time, we'll make sure we get that figured out.
Jason, are they gonna have that old system going forward?
Yeah, kind
Or
of.
are they gonna have to log in and look at their stuff in real time on their own?
I haven't
There,
checked yet.
there is a future customer service portal
I
coming.
don't know when it's
Do you know how
due.
long before that's coming, before customers gonna get a call for a leak?
Oh, we'll be able to do that right away.
We're doing it now.
I mean,
Oh, so wait, so you do have
Yeah.
that now, that
Yeah.
folks are
Yeah.
switched over. So
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't have to log in to watch their stuff at
No,
real
no, no,
time.
no.
It's gonna be the old fashioned
Yeah,
way.
we're currently watching and monitoring, and they're making phone calls with the, whatever time they have available. The old way of doing it is back. The only thing, there is a potential customer service portal in the future in which a resident could set up alerts and stuff on their own to be able to monitor their account even in more depth. But as of the first transmitter going back in the ground, we went back to monitoring the system as a whole, getting alerts every day on continuous usages, high volume usages, things of that nature. And those phone calls have been going on.
I have another question, and it's kind of like what you were asking, I think. Is there a chance now that our rates are gonna go up, our regular rates that we've been paying before, because to make up for this loss that you're gonna have?
Well, again, this isn't really a loss to our system because it would just be on top of. The rate conversation would have to be completely
Yep.
separate
The
of
money
this.
won't be there until people do their 24 months to pay it back, so where's money?
That is correct, but
coming
it's
from in the
It's an
meantime?
$8 million annual revenue account, so this is obviously significant money, but not game-changing money.
So our rates won't go up.
I cannot guarantee that because our rates haven't been changed in 12 years,
Right.
but I think that's
Here we
that's an entirely different conversation.
There is
Not
discussion.
exactly.
There has been discussion
Okay, that's not what
out there, so.
you want to give me a motion of some sort. We recommend up to 24-month
Write it
payment
down.
on transmitter project variance.
Yep, that's part of the motion.
That's the first part of the motion, and then the second part is anything greater than 500% on the regular billing will be considered as a 75% reduction. Is that correct wording?
Sounded correct. Do you want, I guess we'll just address the water rule payment plan being added separately, because that's not something, you can add a note of it. You recommend the administration.
Yeah, we're recommending up to 24-month payment period.
But the
Right.
separate standard,
Oh, okay,
Payment
yeah.
structure.
Well, yeah, that needs to be another
Just maybe-
discussion when you do the water rates.
okay,
That is my motion.
That's your motion. I guess I'll second it since I'm one. And your vote? Aye. So that will go forward. That will be city council.
very good. Thank
Alright,
you
I
all
would
for your
request-
time.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming.
I know my own council representative, Jeff Wobser, but I don't know the names of the others.
I'm Randy Greeno.
I'm Josh Palmer, so.
I'm Beth Warnicky on Third Ward, I'm just not on the committee, I'm just.
Okay.
And I'm Holly Frishy First Ward, not on the committee.
And Jason.
Oh, I'm Jason Phillips, I'm the water superintendent.
Oh, thank you.
He's one cost.
Okay, so officially.
Now he's just the one taking all the
That's good.
thunder.
Meeting is over at 3:49.